Greetings and salutations, my friends. Welcome to another Total War Warhammer 2 guide. Today we are looking at the cheap arse end, the backbone of the Skaven army, and that is the Skaven Slaves and the Clanrats, and they come in various different flavours. So we're going to go through them, see what we like, talk about tactics and all that sort of good stuff. So first off, we're going to start with the lowest of the low. I love the models are fine, but I love the fact you've got all this shit crawling around them because they stink and stench and rot. And they basically come in two flavours. You've got the Skaven Slaves and the Skaven Slaves with spears. Now, for me, Skaven Slaves with spears is like sticking glitter on a turd. At the end of the day, it's still a turd, right? They're cheap. They're not for fight. They're not going to win fights. So spears might have a tiny bit of an upgrade and stuff like that, but if you're going to be using Skaven Slaves, they are awful. You might as well just have another unit of Skaven Slaves as opposed to, you know, a bunch of units with spears. So let's have a look at them. Firstly, they're expendable, which is really good. Skaven have an issue with leadership, but they don't, when they break or die, they don't affect the leadership of other Skaven because Skaven don't give a shit about Skaven Slaves. They are also a meat shield. While unimpressive at causing damage, this unit is useful as a meat shield, absorbing damage that would otherwise hurt a more powerful or precious unit. Poor bastards. This unit suffers from poor leadership and will easily root. Keep its flanks secure in your lord or other encouraging units nearby. So, armour, 0. Leadership, 35. They're quick. That's the only thing I can say about them. They're quick because they're Skaven. So they have the hide in the forest. They're expendable. They've got the strength in numbers. So if their hit points are above 50%, they have a little bonus to leadership and melee defense. And then once they're reduced below 50%, they get faster. So it allows them to get away, which is quite a fun little thing. And they also have the scurry away 12. I think that's just to counteract it because that's minus 12. Yeah, so they basically opposite others. So they're the same speed regardless, right? But basically, yeah. So they're slightly better when they're still shit, right? But they're slightly better when they're above 50%. And then obviously the guys with spears have just got the anti-large ability, meaning that they do a hefty 6 bonus versus large. So they definitely have a role, but they basically perform the same job. You might just try and get them in against bigger targets. They're still going to get utterly destroyed, but, you know. Next up, we have the backbone, the biggest army there is of the Clanrats. You know, the main force that you're going to sort of get. Probably your first couple of armies are going to be made up of the majority of Clanrats, depending on what tactics, which we'll talk about in a minute, you want to play. So they come in 4 flavours. We've got Clanrats. We've got Clanrats with spears. We've got them with shields, and we've got them with shields and spears. We'll just look at the first one because they're all pretty similar. And same. So they've got 25 armour. They've got a better leadership, 10 more leadership. They 24 attack as opposed to 10, so plus 14 attack, plus 2 defense, plus 10 weapon strength and charge bonus plus 7. They have the same abilities also as the Skaven Slaves, and then you've got the spears, the choppy dudes, and the spearsies, choppy dudes, shieldy dudes. So they obviously perform differently. Obviously you use these spears to go after bigger targets. They're anti-large, they've got a charge defense and stuff like that. So this is very much dependent on what you are fighting. If you're fighting elves, for instance, then shields are like 100% must. And I'd probably go for the vast majority of Clanrats with shields, because they don't have a massive amount of big stuff, especially early game when they're going to have a lot of infantry units that you want to be able to make sure you've got, because they're just going to destroy you if you don't have shields. So as soon as you're able to get shields. Then obviously the spears to go after the bigger dudes. So overall, as a thing, elves I'd mainly have Clanrats with shields, and sprinkled in a few shields with spears, and then against lizardmen who have more big creatures and stuff like that, you might want to go with more spears, and you don't have to worry about shields so much. Obviously it's still useful for things like skinks and stuff like that, but you don't have to worry about it too much. But overall, obviously these are the two guys you want to go for. You want to go for shields with spears and swords and have a nice mix, you know, in your army. So there's 2 ways you can play Skaven. On the sort of tabletop version, the old school Games Workshop, they were mainly played as a horde army. tons of slaves, tons of clanrats, and get them involved, get them stuck in, and then just have a few sort of elite units to sprinkle in. Tie up the enemy with these 6 units here, and then use your storm vermin and other dudes to get in and actually do the damage. All these are there is to hold up the enemy line. Within the game, you can go a bit more of a actual standard fighty army. If you go for like a few units of these dudes here, the standard clanrats with spears and shields and stuff, but also sprinkle in a bunch of storm vermin and go much heavier on the storm vermin and stuff like that, getting the rat ogres and stuff like that, you have a much more stable army. The other method, the most fun method, is to have a shit ton of Skaven slaves and like maybe 10 units of Skaven slaves. Let them come to you, charge in all the Skaven slaves, and then just have an absolute shit ton of artillery and poison wind globadiers and warp lightning cannons and doom wheels and stuff like this, where you just don't give a shit about the Skaven slaves, and it doesn't matter who you kill, you're using them just to blow up everyone. That's the sort of, that's the Skaven way. So they both have their uses. I think me personally, my play style, I prefer having better, more elite units to generally use in an army. I might have 1 or 2 units of Skaven Slaves just to act as a deterrent, maybe as a decoy on a flank somewhere to get their horse archers or whoever off to the side, get rid of them for a while. You know they're going to die, but hopefully you've killed a lot of the rest of the army before those guys come back. But then use mainly lots of clanrats with storm vermin and a fighty leader that's boosting the leadership to keep these guys in the fight, and then using like the 13th spell and stuff like that to raise storm vermin behind the enemy lines, or plague monks to charge in and crush them. That's kind of how I play, and I do like my artillery. I'm obviously going to go on to make I think in a couple of episodes time we're doing the artillery, which is going to be a lot of fun, because the artillery for the Skaven is just amazing. But there we go. Yeah, they are the bog standard, filler stuff for your army. You don't have to worry about losing a unit of Skaven Slaves or Clanrats. They're the expendable dudes. Thank you very much for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed that. I'd love to know what your overall Skaven tactic is. Are you a guy that has a bunch of these dudes that just sends them in and then pours fire on the whole lot, or do you prefer the more elite armies like I do? I'd love to know your thoughts. Thank you very much. Leave a like, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.